Good morning. Just wait for a few people to join us. Hi, Laurie Rose. Good morning. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to bob on before we get started. I thought today I'd share my rainbow baby story and tell you a bit about the experience my husband and I had in having our rainbow baby Ruby. And as you know, it's a happy ending to the story. Hi Dawn, hi Pippa, thanks for watching. I'm live from Ruby's nursery. I wonder what she'd think if she knew that Mummy was taking over her bedroom every Tuesday morning when she's at nursery to do these lives. It's the only kind of place with a really nice background. So I'm going to talk about my rainbow baby story. As many of you know, and as you can see from my web pages, it's Baby Loss Awareness Week. So I thought, given the reason behind and the inspiration behind the Ruby and the Rainbow brand is our rainbow baby Ruby. God, that was a tongue twister. I thought I'd share our story. And a crazy part of me thought, oh, it'd be really nice to talk to people and do it live. And then I suddenly thought, oh, okay, that's quite a big thing to do. So you'll have to bear with me. I haven't been prepared enough to get tissues, so hopefully it'll all work out okay. I managed to write kind of what I was going to say last night without welling up. So there's a hope that we'll get through this. Hi Amy, nice to see you. Hi Andrea. So I'm going to share my rainbow baby story. I did say I'd give you a sneak peek of Christmas, and if we've got time before Rory wakes up, I definitely will show you a little sneak peek of what we've got in store for Christmas, for the Christmas pyjamas. We've got some pyjama bottoms and the blanks tops that we'll be using for those pyjamas. But I also wanted to take the time to thank those that have shared their rainbow baby story with us at Ruby and the Rainbow to put on our blog. Hi Lorraine. Because I think it is a brave thing to do, and I'm really really feeling that now, but it does give people hope. So I wanted to thank Gemma, Amy, Catherine, whose stories have all been published, but there are many more stories to be published. So what we'll be doing is we'll get one on a day during Baby Loss Awareness Week. And that'll take us up to Friday, and then after that we're going to do maybe one a week, maybe one every fortnight, just to keep sharing those stories and to keep that awareness going, because it's not just about 1 week. We really need people to understand what it's like to lose a baby, and that you're not alone, it's not that uncommon. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing. So here goes. Bear with me. I don't know how I'm going to find this, but we'll go. I've got written a few notes because I just thought I don't know whether I'm going to get tongue-tied or start waffling on at you. So if I am reading bits, please bear with me. So my husband and I started trying for a baby probably about 6 years ago now. No, 5 to 6 years ago. Just before we got married, and I remember being in the wedding dress shop. Hi Gemma. Trying on wedding dresses and sort of whispering to the assistant to say, you know, I might be pregnant on my wedding day, so can we pick a dress that's forgiving, and not really wanting to share that with the other people that I'd gone wedding dress shopping with, my friends. So, you know, I was having to whisper this, and then we kind of decided on this dress, etc. And I kind of thought at that stage, as you do when you're kind of younger, that getting pregnant was so easy, and kind of all the sex education stuff at school, you think, oh my God, if you so much as touch a boy, then you'll get pregnant and have a baby. Nobody really talks to you about the fact that, you know, it doesn't always happen like that. And, you know, for most of my sort of 20s and very early 30s, you know, that sort of stuff didn't kind of touch me. So when it went bad for us, it was kind of a surprise. And the first time I sort of fell pregnant was 6 months later that year after we got married. We were just about to go and see the GP because we knew we were getting older, and we thought, oh, this has taken longer than we expected. Hi Nick, nice to see you. And so we booked an appointment, and then quite shortly after I fell pregnant, and we hadn't had the appointment yet, so that was a bit awkward. And I became a bit addicted to those pregnancy little pea stick tests, as we called them. And we were so excited. We started making plans about, you know, what being parents would like, what we'd do, where the nursery would be, all those kind of natural things that people do. I even bought a pregnancy fitness DVD and, you know, started doing that when probably I could have still done, well, the limited fitness that I did, exercise that I did at a time. And we told our parents, but, you know, as most people do, we kept it all quiet from everyone else. And I remember thinking at the time, why am I keeping it quiet from people? I want to tell people, but it wasn't the done thing to do. Not really realising, you know, how common miscarriages and baby loss was. And then 6 weeks into that pregnancy, I started to bleed. I was at work. No one at work knew, so that was really difficult, and I rang the GP and they said that they'd see me straight away, so I had to kind of make some excuses with my boss and say that I needed to go to the GP, etc., but being really vague, which I felt quite guilty about. And then later that night I was in a lot of pain, so I ended up going to A&E, and they thought that it could be an ectopic pregnancy because the pregnancy hormone was quite high. So I ended up spending a worrying night in hospital, but without 2 readings on the pregnancy hormone, they were unable to say, you know, what was happening with the pregnancy. And I had to wait for a scan the next day. So I had the scan the next day, and they said, oh, there's a pregnancy sat there and there's a fetal pulse, but it might be too early to see the heartbeat. So that was that, and we were scheduled for another scan later on. And we're told by a well-meaning doctor that it'll probably be all okay. So I started thinking, oh, you know, it's just a bit of a scare, it'll be fine. But I did start thinking, oh, maybe this won't just swimmingly end up with a baby at the end of it. We came back for the next scan, and we were told they're not sure still. And we were given a blood test to test the HCG levels because they were far enough apart at that point in time. And then we were told, we'll ring you later, go home, and we'll call you back with the results. So I went home because that doctor had said to me, oh, it'll probably be fine, and I didn't really pay too much sort of attention to it. And then when the call came, it came quite stark in that the nurse on the end of the phone said, oh yes, it looks like you've miscarried. And that's the first time anyone had said those words to me. And I just kind of broke down. I think at this point, I kind of thought it was the ectopic thing that they were questioning, not the pregnancy overall. So that kind of came as an enormous blow. The physical pain continued. And we also had to tell our parents that, you know, this pregnancy wasn't going to be. And that was really, really hard. And then after that miscarriage, I kind of did a bit of research, did a bit of Googling, as everybody does, and found out actually it's, you know, quite a common thing. And so I felt a little bit better about it. The 1 in 4 pregnancies that end in loss, kind of thought, well, okay, you know, maybe that's our one out of the way, and, you know, we'll keep trying. So we kept trying, we fell pregnant again. Again, we shared it with our parents, and they naturally got excited, and we were a bit hesitant to say, oh no, don't get excited, let's just see what happens with this one, and sort of downplayed it. And I think we didn't really have the same sort of enjoyment about falling pregnant as we did previously. I mean, and then, you know, we had another miscarriage, and with one we kind of thought, well, that's just the statistics, but 2 in a row we really started to worry about whether there was something wrong, and we spoke to our doctors and stuff about tests that could be done. But because we'd had 2 and not 3, it wasn't considered recurrent miscarriage, so they wouldn't refer us on for more tests until we'd had 3, and that felt like no man's land to us. And we kind of didn't want to put ourselves through the pain, and, you know, if you've lost a baby, whatever stage of pregnancy, you know that it's painful. All those kind of hopes and dreams come crashing down. We didn't want to put ourselves through that, knowing that there could be something wrong, but because we hadn't been through that 3 times, then we weren't able to get the test. And I think that was national NHS guidance then. I don't know if it's still the case now. So it wasn't anything our local hospital was doing, but it did feel like a bit of no man's land, and that we couldn't access the help that we needed. And then we tried for a while, and nothing seemed to be happening, so we sought the advice of the fertility clinic, and we followed all the protocols and procedures and stuff to be able to access that clinic. And they put us through an IVF process. I remember being called each day with, I don't know if any of you have been through IVF, but you get a call each day to say, oh, this is what's happening with your embryos and whether they've fertilised and, whether they're growing well. I don't know if that's a technical term, probably not. And it felt like getting your exam results every single day to say how many eggs were left, how many were fertilised, and the number drops every day. So you think, oh God, at the end of this, I think it's 3 days, at the end of the 3 days, will we have enough eggs to be able to put one back in, but also freeze some of those embryos so that, if this doesn't work out, that we have another shot at it. So we had the embryo transferred back in. That all went smoothly, and then we had to wait 2 weeks to take a pregnancy test again, and that was agonising. And there were so many times where I thought, oh, I'll just take one now and see what it says. And I think I held off. Until the penultimate day, and then we had the positive pregnancy test. So we were excited naturally. We kind of thought it'd be a bit different because it was IVF, and because they'd done some tests and they'd tested, they'd done some quality assessments on the embryo and all that kind of stuff. It kind of felt a little bit different than it was IVF, and that we thought, well, maybe because there's more controls in place and it's all not just left to natural causes, that this time it might be successful. And at 6 weeks we had our scan, and again they saw that there was a pregnancy sac and fetal pole but no heartbeat, and they said, well, it's probably too early to say. So we were scheduled back for another scan, and waiting between those scans felt like forever. It was a really anxious time for both of us, and I think both of us got quite stressed. I certainly did in particular. I had a stressful job at the time, and kind of the two mixed together felt a little bit toxic at times. But we both tried to keep positive, but we went back for the next scan, and we were told that it was conclusive and there was no heartbeat. What made this one really challenging was that it took a long time for the pregnancy to pass. I've always done it naturally. I've never taken the medication or had surgery, because I've Googled missed viable pregnancies and always thought, well, if it comes away on its own, then it was meant to be. Hi, Tracy. So that's what we did this time, and it was just before Christmas that we found out that the pregnancy wasn't viable, and all over Christmas I remember kind of walking around thinking, I'm carrying my dead baby inside. It was awful. And trying to enjoy Christmas, and it was our first Christmas without my mum as well, so it was a really, really challenging time for us. And like that carried on. We came back from where we were staying at my brother's for Christmas, and we thought, well, we better seek some advice because nothing's happened on its own. So we went to the clinic, and we were scheduled in for an appointment to have treatment on the 2nd of January. But on New Year's Eve I started to experience quite a lot of pain. So they saw me in the clinic and they said, oh, it started naturally. We'll give you some medication to help things move along. So they gave me that. They sent us home, and within about 2 minutes of walking through the front door, I was in absolute agony. I've never been in so much pain in my whole life. I was climbing the walls, screaming, and really didn't know what to do. So we rang them back. I went back into the clinic, and it was at this time in the day, it was linked to a ward. They gave me pethidine, morphine and Gasonair to try and A, calm me down because I was a bit hysterical at that time, and B, get on top of the pain, and none of that worked. They still gave me an assessment while I was in that pain because there was no other option, and I was scheduled for theatre. So I had surgical removal of the pregnancy, and that ended at about 1:45 midnight on New Year's Eve. So like just before the New Year rang in, I remember coming round in recovery room, seeing all the fireworks and everything like that go off on the TV by the nurses station as I came around, and I kind of thought, and it was an awful position to be in, but by that point in time we'd kind of got over that, and thought, well, it's quite nice that it's in that year and it doesn't carry over into the next year, because if I'd had the termination in that year, it kind of felt a bit different. I know it seems strange, but yeah, it was kind of nice that we could feel like we could put it behind us. We both felt really crushed by that experience, and it felt like it'd really upped the ante of getting pregnant again, and the kind of circumstances that we can find ourselves in, particularly having a kind of emergency op as a result of it. So after the third miscarriage, we were quite reluctant to try again. We really wanted to understand what the cause was before we tried again, and we referred for more tests because this was our third miscarriage. We'd had every test under the sun. Nothing came back that really said, you know, this is what it is. We were given some advice to help, so losing weight, taking some vitamin tablets, etc., all of which we kind of done a bit of already, but we thought, well, we'll do a renewed effort on that. But nothing stood out to say this is why you can't continue with a pregnancy, and that was really hard because we've always been kind of problem solvers, and we've always been able to fix things or work out a plan to get to where we want to be in life, and we just weren't able to do that with this. We went to see a consultant who I'd worked with previously and I considered to be a friend of mine, and had our consultation, and we sort of shared with him that we felt a bit reluctant to try again, and he said, well, you know, it's a bit like flipping a coin. Every time you try, you've got an opportunity to get the outcome that you want. And whilst it's not 50-50, if you don't try, you'll never get the outcome that you want. And he was right. And we had a discussion and said, you know what, we've been through so much. We know we can do it. We've come out the other end. Let's keep trying. And at the time, we kind of decided not to place as much focus and energy on it. I think it become a bit all-consuming with the IVF. And so we made a few changes with our lifestyle. I moved into a less stressful job, because at the time I had quite a naturally stressful role that was full-on, sort of 24/7. So it was quite... We thought, well, we'll kind of change, you know, some of our circumstances. We did, you know, we were more active. We booked a few holidays, and we didn't focus so much on trying to get pregnant and trying to keep the baby. And I fell pregnant kind of out of the blue, which was quite nice given that we had had to have the IVF for the last pregnancy. But again, that ended in miscarriage. And at this point, I'd started opening up to people, but also felt like I was a bit doom and gloom around it. And I know some people have said that in their stories, that they didn't want to be the person that kind of came to the party with all of the sad stories. So I was a bit careful about how I shared what we were going through with people, and quite often changed the topic of conversation where I could, to avoid kind of talking about it and being all sort of doom and gloom. That pregnancy sort of naturally came away on its own, and then a month later I fell pregnant again, which to us was a complete and utter shock, because, you know, we'd struggled with we had to have IVF because we were struggling, and then 2 months in a row I fell pregnant. I thought, well, you know, something's different this time, and I do believe that it was because I was, you know, my stress levels were better, we had a better work-life balance, and we spent more time, you know, doing nice, enjoyable things, and we weren't so focused on getting pregnant. This time we thought, well, we were offered a 6-week scan. We thought, well, we don't want to go back at 6 weeks, because all the 6-week scans we've had were inconclusive, and the anxiety in waiting for that scan date was just awful. And then we never slept the night before. And then at 7 weeks, we kind of always had this hopeful scan. And then at 8 weeks told that, you know, it wasn't going to happen. So we decided this time that we'd wait until what we thought was 8 weeks. And I remember going into the scan room, preparing myself for the worst, really, because it'd been the same room that we'd been seen in before and told bad news. And they said, "Oh, no, there's a heartbeat, congratulations." And I remember not really knowing how to feel, because every time we'd been there before and been in that circumstance before, it was bad news. So this was completely unexpected. Great news. I think we both had tears. And then afterwards, I kind of still felt in this, I don't know how to feel about this. Surely this isn't going to happen, because I was kind of preconditioned into the fact that this wasn't going to happen for us, given all the experience that we had around the miscarriages before. But it did, and my whole pregnancy was filled with anxiety. We didn't tell anybody until we had to, even our parents, until I think it was gone 12 weeks. I think we waited for 13 weeks to make sure we were definitely out of the first trimester on any kind of online pregnancy calculator you can find. And then we wouldn't buy anything until gone 20 weeks, and we'd had that second scan at the hospital for the pregnancy. So, and we kind of downplayed our happiness about being pregnant and kind of cautioned everybody around, well, we'll see what happens, all the way up until we actually had Ruby in our arms. And I think that's something that once you've been through kind of pregnancy loss or infant loss, or, any baby loss experience, it does really affect how you feel about your pregnancy, and how you share it with others. And I think that's really sad, but it's just what it is. And then 2 weeks before my due date, Ruby was born. It was a special day. We chose it because I was offered a C-section for medical reasons. It was my parents' anniversary. So it was quite nice that it was on her birthday. Her birthday was their anniversary. And I think after that, we both had kind of smug smiles on our faces for weeks, even though we kind of had sleep deprivation and were going through all the newborn stuff and not really knowing what we're doing. We were, definitely smug. And now 20 months later, we have 2 children. And the second time round, it didn't take 4 years. In fact, it didn't take very long at all. And that took us by surprise, I have to say. So we've now got 2 little ones under 2, Ruby and Rory. And that's the kind of happy end to our story. And I think at times during our journey, we did feel like giving up, and we did almost give up and focus on other stuff in our lives. And that's when it happened. And I would say to anyone out there who's still trying and they don't know the cause, keep trying. Try and, not focus about it solely. Seek help where you can. I'm not a professional, but I definitely think the fact that we changed our lifestyle and changed the sort of stresses on our lives made a big difference to us having a family. So that's my rainbow baby story. You never know when your rainbow's going to come along. I hope that's helped some people. And for those of you who don't know that we went through all of that, that's our story. And the inspiration behind Ruby and the Rainbow. So I hope that was helpful. Hello to everyone who's watching. Thanks for watching me ramble through that. Hi Emma, hi Natalie. And as I said at the start of the call, I will do a little sneak preview of our Christmas collection. Oh, hi Helen. Oh no, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that you've got tears in your eyes, because you'll set me off. So I'm going to move on to Christmas so I don't get set off. Christmas pyjamas. We are doing personalised matching. Oh, thank you, Amy. Oh, I really appreciate that. We are doing matching pyjamas. If anyone's got any questions actually about our story and wants to ask me, please ask me in the comments, or if you've got any comments about it, and I will answer them when I've had another cup of coffee. Thanks Pippa. Thanks Emma. So these are the pyjama bottoms. We do them in a green version and red. I've only got the red sample available. These, I don't know what size these are. These are Rory's, so they're 6 to 12 months. And they come with a blue top, which where's where have I put it? Here we go. Which is 100% organic. It's really super soft. And I'll be sharing the designs for those. Maybe, I think probably next live I'll try and find a way of sharing the designs, because we won't have the samples by then, but just that you can see what we're planning. So I did say do a sneak peek. They're going to be available in adult sizes and baby sizes and toddler sizes and children's sizes, so you can get them for the whole family. And as promised, I said I would send you a sneak peek. So we're going to do green as well as red, and then the tops we'll be able to do in navy blue and red. And the designs that we've got so far, there's going to be 2 designs, one which is a reindeer in kind of a light blue white, and then one which is polar bears, which is more of a kind of matching polar bear, so you'll be able to have a polar bear for each member of the family and put their name or a nickname or something underneath to personalise it for you. So that's what's in store for Christmas. Once Baby Loss Awareness Week, once we get out of Baby Loss Awareness Week, I'll be sharing lots of stuff around our Christmas, giving you asking lots of questions actually about what you want and what you don't want, so that we can make sure that we provide products that you're going to love. So thanks everyone for bearing with me, and thank you for listening to my Rainbow Baby story. I will be posting it on our blog later this week. I just need to make sure that all the typos and stuff like that are sorted and some pictures are with it. As I said, the baby stories that we've already got are going to be posted one a day through Baby Loss Awareness Week, which ends, I think it's Thursday. And there'll be a ray of light on Thursdays. People sort of light candles to raise awareness and remembrance. So we'll be participating in that. And we are going to keep sharing these stories on a blog, because they've had, lots of people have come to read them. So I feel like people like them and like to hear them and like to hear the kind of hope that it provides. So we'll continue to share those either once a week or once a fortnight. We might do once a week to begin with and then spread them out to once a fortnight after that, because we've still got lots of stories to share. They're all so different. So mine's a recurrent miscarriage. We've had infant loss. We've had termination for medical reasons, all sorts of different rainbow baby stories, and I think that's really important, that we recognise that it's not just miscarriage or it's not just stillbirth, that there's so many different kind of varieties of baby loss that people deal with, and it's better that we talk about it. So thanks again for watching. I better go now, because I'm sure Rory's going to wake up anytime soon, and I'll see you next week to tell you more about Christmas. Bye everybody.